There was once a woman named Margaret Allen. She was a woman of dignity, known for her kindness, and respected in her community. Her husband, Richard Allen, had been a successful businessman. Together, they raised 3 children, Anthony, Diana, and Michael. For many years, life was good. The family lived in abundance. Their home was filled with laughter, warm dinners, and a sense of security. But when Richard passed away unexpectedly, everything changed. At first, Margaret believed she could hold everything together. She managed Richard's affairs and trusted his old business partners. But the people she believed were allies became her greatest enemies. They forged contracts. They manipulated her. And within a year, she lost almost everything Richard had left behind. The once magnificent Allen estate was gone. The cars were repossessed. The money drained away. And the woman who once hosted grand parties now struggled to put food on the table. But her deepest wound did not come from financial loss. It came from her own children. Anthony, the eldest, a proud banker, looked at his mother with disdain. "Mother," he said sharply, "you've humiliated this family. How could you allow Father's legacy to be destroyed? Do you realize what this does to my reputation at the bank?" Diana, always stylish and concerned with appearances, folded her arms. "I told you, Mother, to sell those shares long ago. You were stubborn, and now we've lost everything. I can't be seen with you in public like this. People talk." Michael, the youngest, a carefree drifter with a taste for nightlife, rolled his eyes. "This isn't my problem. I've got my own life to live. Don't drag me into your mess." Margaret's heart broke as her children turned against her. She pleaded with them. Her voice shook, but her love for them was unwavering. "My children, everything I did for you. Life has been cruel, but I am still your mother. I need you now more than ever." But her words fell on deaf ears. Anthony stopped answering her calls. Diana avoided her in public. Michael disappeared into his own reckless world. One by one, they abandoned her. Soon, Margaret was evicted from the modest apartment she had rented after losing the family estate. Her belongings were tossed into the street like garbage. She gathered only a small bag, an old Bible, and faded photographs of her children. That night, as the rain poured down, Margaret walked the streets alone. Her once proud figure, now bent under the weight of sorrow. A mother, with nowhere to go. She found shelter beneath a bridge, shivering in the cold. The woman who had once been the matriarch of a wealthy family was now homeless. But hidden in her late husband's papers, sealed in an envelope she had never opened, was a secret. Inside that envelope lay the truth: shares in a mining company worth $60 million. But Margaret had no idea. And so, she suffered, unaware that fortune still carried her name. And this is where her story begins. The city streets were not kind to Margaret. Days stretched into weeks, and weeks into months. With no roof over her head, she wandered from corner to corner, searching for scraps of food and a place to rest her weary body. At night, she slept beneath the bridge, wrapping herself in torn blankets left behind by strangers. During the day, she sat quietly at the marketplace, watching the world rush by. But even in her suffering, Margaret held on to her dignity. She never begged. She never cursed. She whispered prayers in the silence, clutching her Bible, believing that one day, light would find her again. One afternoon, a woman named Lena, a kind street vendor, noticed Margaret. Lena sold roasted corn by the roadside. She had little herself, but she had compassion. "Mother," Lena said gently, "you look hungry. Please, take this corn." No money needed. Margaret hesitated. Her pride resisted. But Lena smiled warmly. "It's all right. Sometimes we must let others give. Please, eat." Tears filled Margaret's eyes as she accepted the gift. It had been days since someone treated her like a human being. From that day, Lena and Margaret became friends. Whenever Margaret passed by, Lena offered food and company. And soon, another soul entered Margaret's life. A young boy named Sam, no more than 10 years old, lived on the streets too. An orphan with no one to call family, he survived by collecting bottles and shining shoes. He noticed Margaret one evening, sitting alone, staring at the stars. "Grandma," Sam said softly, "why do you sit here every night?" Margaret looked at him, surprised. "Did you call me Grandma?" Sam shrugged. "You remind me of the grandmother I never had. Can I sit with you?" And so, a bond was formed. This is Triumph Legends, a home for epic stories of triumph. Have you subscribed yet? Please do, because it promises to be hot, inspiring and gripping stories as we progress. The old woman who had been abandoned by her own children found unexpected comfort in a boy who had no parents. Night after night, Margaret and Sam sat together under the bridge. She told him stories from the Bible. She shared wisdom about life. And in return, Sam made her laugh with his silly jokes and innocent dreams. In the eyes of society, they were nothing, just a homeless woman and a ragged boy. But in the quiet of the night, they were family. Meanwhile, Anthony, Diana, and Michael lived in comfort. Anthony was climbing the corporate ladder, proud of his achievements. But whispers of questionable deals followed him at work. Diana spent lavishly, throwing parties and buying dresses she couldn't afford. Michael drifted between gambling dens and shady bars, sinking deeper into debt. Though they seemed successful, cracks were forming in their perfect lives. One day, Margaret discovered a small shelter run by volunteers. Though embarrassed, she began to help out. Cleaning tables, folding donated clothes, even comforting other homeless women. She refused to see herself as a victim. Instead, she chose to be a giver, even in her lack. People began to notice her gentle spirit. Some called her Mama Margaret. She became a quiet source of hope for others who had lost everything. But elsewhere, another story was unfolding. A lawyer named Mr. Collins had been searching for a woman named Margaret Allen. He carried a sealed letter from Richard Allen's estate, an inheritance that had never been claimed. At last, he tracked down Anthony. "Is your mother alive?" Mr. Collins asked. Anthony hesitated, his eyes darting. "My mother? No, she passed away years ago." It was a lie. Diana and Michael echoed the same. "Our mother is gone. There's nothing left." Mr. Collins left, suspicious. He felt something wasn't right. And so, the truth remained hidden. Margaret lived in silence, unaware that fortune still followed her name. While her children chose deceit, Margaret chose kindness. She had no idea, her life was about to collide with destiny in a way no one could imagine. Fate has a way of revealing secrets at the most unexpected moments. For months, Margaret continued her quiet life of survival, unaware of the fortune tied to her name. But one afternoon, everything began to change. Anthony had been cleaning out his office when he stumbled across an old leather briefcase belonging to his late father. Inside, hidden beneath dusty files, was a sealed envelope with the words, "To my beloved wife, Margaret. Open in the event of my passing." Curious, Anthony opened it. What he saw left him breathless. Inside the envelope was proof of shares in a mining company, valued at $60 million. His hands trembled. His heart raced. 60 million, he whispered. But instead of rushing to find his mother, instead of rejoicing that she might finally be saved from suffering, Anthony's heart grew dark. He called Diana and Michael. That night, in Diana's luxurious living room, the three siblings sat in a circle, the letter on the table before them. Anthony leaned forward. "This money, this changes everything. But if Mother is alive and finds out, we'll never see a penny." Diana narrowed her eyes. "So what do you suggest? That we pretend she doesn't exist?" Michael, restless and nervous, tapped his foot. "We've already told that lawyer she's dead. If the truth comes out now, we'll look like fools. Or worse." Silence hung in the air. Then Anthony smirked. "There's a way. We can forge the documents. We declare her unfit, unstable. We take control of the inheritance ourselves." Diana gasped, but greed flickered in her eyes. "And split it 3 ways?" Anthony nodded. Michael hesitated, then shrugged. "Fine. But I want my share up front. I've got debts." And so, their betrayal deepened. They forged signatures. They bribed witnesses. They began the process of stealing $60 million from their own mother. But greed never travels alone. It brings destruction in its wake. Anthony's dealings at the bank were already under scrutiny. The forged papers drew even more suspicion. Rumors began spreading that he was embezzling funds. His carefully built career teetered on collapse. Diana's lavish spending spiraled out of control. Her husband discovered secret credit card bills and hidden lies. Their marriage cracked under the weight of her deceit. "You're obsessed with money, Diana," he shouted. "Is there nothing real left in you?" Michael's gambling debts caught up to him. The criminals he owed learned about the rumored inheritance. They wanted a cut, and they were not patient men. Meanwhile, Margaret remained under the bridge, her health weakening. Cold nights left her coughing. Hunger gnawed at her. Yet she still smiled at Sam, the little boy who called her grandma. "Don't worry, child," she whispered. "Better days will come." And then, one fateful evening, Sam spotted a stranger walking through the market, asking questions. It was Mr. Collins, the lawyer. He was searching again. "Have you seen a woman named Margaret Allen?" he asked vendors. Most shook their heads. Some said no. But Sam tugged his sleeve. "Sir, I know a lady named Margaret. She's my grandma." Mr. Collins looked down in shock. "Your grandma? Where is she?" Sam led him to the bridge. There, curled up against the cold, lay Margaret, frail, coughing, barely conscious. Mr. Collins gasped. "My God, she's alive." The truth was out. The woman her children claimed was dead, was right there, breathing, suffering, forgotten. Mr. Collins knelt beside her, taking her hand. "Mrs. Allen, I'm here to help you. You must hold on." But Margaret was too weak to answer. Her fate now hung in the balance. Her children's lies had set a storm in motion. And soon, the world would know the truth. Margaret awoke to the faint smell of disinfectant. For the first time in months, she lay not on cold pavement, but on a hospital bed. Her frail body was covered with blankets. And 4 drip ran into her arm. Beside her stood Mr. Collins, the lawyer. He looked relieved as her eyes fluttered open. "Mrs. Allen," he said softly, "you've been through so much. But you are safe now." Margaret blinked in confusion. Who are you?" she whispered. "My name is Collins. Your husband, Richard, entrusted me with something before he died. Something he meant only for you." He handed her the very letter her children had hidden. With trembling hands, Margaret opened it. Inside, her eyes widened. The mining shares. The inheritance. $60 million, all in her name. Tears streamed down her face. All this time, and I never knew. Mr. Collins nodded. But your children knew, Mrs. Allen. And they tried to take it from you. They told me you were dead. Margaret's lips quivered. My own children? The case moved quickly to court. Mr. Collins filed charges, demanding justice for Margaret Allen. Anthony, Diana, and Michael, dressed in expensive suits, appeared confident as they walked into the courtroom. They still believed they could win. They still believed the world would side with them. But when the doors opened, gasps filled the room. Margaret entered. Frail, walking slowly, but with dignity in every step. She held her Bible in one hand, and Sam, the little orphan boy, clutched her other hand tightly. Diana whispered in panic, "She's alive." Anthony's face turned pale. Michael looked down, ashamed. The judge struck his gavel. Order in the court. The trial began. Anthony's lawyer argued first. Your Honor, this woman is not in her right mind. She has been living on the streets. She is unfit to manage an inheritance of this size. My clients, her children, only wished to protect her. Margaret's eyes filled with tears as she listened. Her own children were branding her insane, just to steal from her. Then it was Mr. Collins' turn. He called witnesses one by one. Lena, the street vendor, testified. This woman is not insane. She is kind. She helped me even when she had nothing herself. Volunteers from the shelter spoke. Margaret lifted others up, even as she suffered. She is no madwoman. She is a mother to many. And then Sam stepped forward. The little boy stood before the judge, nervous but determined. Your Honor, he said, his small voice echoing, she's my grandma. She gave me hope when I had none. She told me stories. She made me feel loved. If that's what madness looks like, then I wish everyone was mad. The courtroom grew silent. Even the judge wiped his glasses, clearly moved. Finally, Margaret herself stood. Her voice trembled, but her words carried weight. Your Honor, I am not here for revenge. I only want the truth. My children abandoned me when I had nothing. They called me a burden. But I am still their mother. And a mother never forgets. All I ask is for justice. The judge pounded his gavel. The evidence is clear. The inheritance belongs to Mrs. Margaret Allen. The attempts to seize it were unlawful. Case closed. Gasps filled the room. Anthony collapsed into his chair, defeated. Diana buried her face in her hands. Michael stared blankly, as if the weight of his choices had finally crushed him. Margaret closed her eyes, whispering a prayer of thanks. At last, the truth had triumphed. But the story was far from over. The court had spoken. Justice had been served. For the first time in years, Margaret Allen walked out of the courthouse not as a beggar, not as a forgotten widow, but as the rightful heir to her husband's fortune. $60 million. Yet in her heart, the true treasure was something money could never buy, dignity restored. News spread quickly. Headlines read: Widow wins back inheritance after years on the streets. Homeless woman reclaims fortune. Children tried to steal mother's legacy, court rules in her favor. Reporters crowded around her. But Margaret said only one thing. I forgive my children. I pray they find their way back to love. With her wealth restored, Margaret could have chosen vengeance. She could have left her children to rot in shame. But instead, she chose compassion. She set aside portions of the inheritance for Anthony, Diana, and Michael, not as a reward, but as an act of mercy. Her lawyer questioned it, but she simply replied, "They are still my children. Blood is blood. And forgiveness heals deeper wounds than punishment." But Margaret did not stop there. She rebuilt her life with a greater mission. A mission born from the pain of the streets. She purchased land and built the Allen Home for the Forgotten. A place where widows, orphans, and the homeless could find shelter, food, and dignity. Lena, the vendor, was hired to manage the kitchen. Volunteers from the shelters became staff. And Sam, the little orphan boy, became her very first grandson in the new home. The Allen home blossomed. Hundreds found refuge. Margaret walked the halls every day, greeting each soul with the same gentle smile. She would often tell them, "Life may strip you of everything. But it cannot strip you of who you are. Hold on to hope. Because tomorrow can surprise you." Years passed. Anthony, Diana, and Michael eventually returned to their mother, broken, humbled, and repentant. One afternoon, they knelt before her at the Allen home. Anthony spoke first, tears streaming down his face. "Mother, we wronged you. We chose greed over love. Can you ever forgive us?" Margaret placed her trembling hands on his shoulders. "My son. I forgave you the very day you cast me out. What matters now is not the past, but the love we choose today." Diana sobbed, clinging to her mother's arm. Michael could barely speak through his tears. That day, the family was restored. Not perfect. Not without scars. But whole, at last. And so, Margaret Allen's story became more than just a tale of betrayal and fortune. It became a legacy of resilience, forgiveness, and faith. From the streets to the courtroom, from humiliation to triumph, she proved that the human spirit, when anchored in love and forgiveness, can rise from the ashes. Her name was Margaret Allen. A mother. A widow. A woman forgotten, then remembered. Her story reminds us all. Wealth may fade. People may fail. But love, and forgiveness, endure forever. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe and hit the notification button for more interesting stories to come.